I would hate for people to believe that the Nick Fuentes sort of, my problems with Nick Fuentes are about me, because they really are not. They are about the fact that Nick Fuentes is a truly horrifying person who believes truly horrifying things. I mean, again, there is a reason why Charlie Kirk despised him. There is a reason why every mainstream political commentator has been highly critical of him. It's the reason why these are not arguments. This is not a person who's making arguments. He is a Hitler-loving troll, and I say that advisedly. He literally says on his show that he loves Adolf Hitler. Okay, so the reason this has come up in recent weeks is because Tucker, your guest last night, decided to have him on last week and to completely gloss him, in my opinion. And you can make up your own opinion as to what you think Tucker was doing during that interview, but I know what it looks like when Tucker Carlson decides to be an aggressive interviewer, when he decides to ask difficult questions of people. Tucker is eminently capable of doing that. He did it to Ted Cruz quite thoroughly. But he decided, for any number of reasons, and I try not to attribute motivations to people, that he was going to treat Fuentes with kid gloves, that he was going to not ask him about any of the things that I've just mentioned, literally any of them, and to essentially normalize Fuentes, act as a sort of gateway drug, or as what I've called Tucker, as an ideological launderer of bad ideas over the last couple of years. And this is not coming from a place of animus for Tucker on a personal level. I've known Tucker for a very long time. Tucker and I, whenever we're in personal situations, we get along great. I think I saw that Tucker talked about how we were at Charlie's memorial in the vice president's box together, and he's correct. I mean, we saw each other, we said hello, we talked, it was very friendly, and all of that. And it's also true that a couple of days after Charlie's murder, he reached out and he called me and he said, listen, I know that we're at odds, and we've been at odds for a number of reasons, mainly political. I mean, again, on a personal level, I'd go fishing with Tucker anytime. The real question is, for me, I got into this business because I care about the ideas and I care about the ideals. And so when you're determining what is conservatism, what should the future of America look like, and where do you draw the lines, those are the questions that I need to answer in my job. For me, my business is really not about friendship. I have lots of friends, people who I love, with whom I disagree on politics and don't believe they should be leaders in the conservative movement, for example. And that, to me, is the real question. In any case, Tucker reached out. He said, we've had a bunch of disagreements, and what if we could put those aside and align toward the DSA in particular, is what he mentioned. And I said, Tucker, you're totally right. Let's do that. That would be great. In fact,
the TSA?
The DSA. The Democratic Socialists
Why
of
the
America.
TSA? How did that bring you together?
The Democratic Socialists of America. And the reason
I know.
Yes, and the reason you're determining what is conservatism, what should the future of America look like, and where do you draw the lines, those are the questions that I need to answer in my job. For me, my business is really not about friendship. I have lots of friends, people who I love, with whom I disagree on politics and don't believe they should be leaders in the conservative movement, for example. And that, to me, is the real question. In any case, Tucker reached out. He said, we've had a bunch of disagreements, and what if we could put those aside and align toward the DSA in particular, is what he mentioned. And I said, Tucker, you're totally right. Let's do that. That would be great. In fact,
the TSA?
The DSA. The Democratic Socialists of
Why
America.
the TSA? How did that bring you together?
The Democratic Socialists of America. And the reason
I know.
Yes, and the reason that I'm taking out
TSA
my
only
phone
divides people.
is because, yes, the reason I'm taking out my phone is because I don't just, I like to evidence what I'm saying with, actual evidence. So I texted him. And the text exchange was very nice. I mean, here's what the actual text exchange went like after the call. So I texted him and I said, thanks so much for calling. It means the world. It truly does. Should we do a show together talking about the DSA threat, Democratic Socialists of America threat, and orienting in the same direction? Happy to do whatever it takes to bring everyone back together for the fight that matters. And Tucker then wrote back, thanks, man. I appreciate it. I'm going to spend the next week or two thinking about how to be most effective. The country is clearly on the brink. I reached out repeatedly after that. Nothing happened. And again, I thought it was a good idea at the time. I think I felt differently after I saw what he did with Nick Fuentes, and after he proceeded, in my opinion, to spend the subsequent weeks doing literally nothing to fight the left. I say this with sadness because Tucker used to be, I think, a deeply important part of the conservative push to win. The number of times that Tucker Carlson has mentioned Zoran Mamdani since October 5th on his show is once. And it was in the context of Marjorie Taylor Greene and Tucker Carlson talking about the appeal of Zoran Mamdani. Just by way of contrast, not because I'm a perfect representative here, but because you talk about Zoran Mamdani a lot. A lot of us have. Since October 5th, I did 17 separate shows on Zohar Mamdani, including 4 in the last week before the election. Okay, because when you're orienting against the left, you really should orient against the left.
Okay, so a lot in there. I think, just to be clear, so the breakdown from the detente after Charlie was him interviewing Fuentes? Was that the next thing that happened that led to the blow up?
I mean, yes. I mean, okay. I had not spoken a word. There
so it
were
wasn't
things
that he attacked you, or you had
no,
something?
I don't care about people attacking
interview.
me, and I don't think Tucker cares about people attacking him. I mean, again, we're professionals. We're in a business where people comment on what we say publicly. Again, this is why I think you and I differ on our angle with regard to, for example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
I didn't opine on whether it's evil or not, but my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business? I mean, you comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
Okay. Like I said, I don't take in that content, which is an honest statement. I don't have time to watch Candace's show.
I believe you. But the point that I'm making is that
what I
friendship should not, in our
doing.
business, I think it's important. Listen,
Candace
friendship
and I are
should not
friends.
trump.
We don't even know each other.
After Tucker Carlson went on the Megyn Kelly show or program or event and talked with Megyn, Ben Shapiro was also a guest on the program, and he explains his own side of the story, which I think is a good thing, right? It's always advisable to hear from both parties, right? And try not to take side as Megyn Kelly is doing. I told you in a previous video that Megyn is a very smart lady and she knows exactly what she is doing. And I think she is not really a coward as per se, but she's not confrontational and she doesn't have the stamina to withstand certain pressure. And so she would rather just pull back and not talk about the issue. Which, if you're someone whose existence depend on that, well, you have to do it, right? At least everyone must choose themselves first. So, I have just this to say to Ben, right? Thinking that people should not platform other people is wrong. Thinking that someone must ask the questions that you think are important to you is also very wrong. The reason people get together are not the same. Like the reason I might want to sit down and have a conversation with Nick Fuentes might not necessarily be the same reason why you might want to sit with him. People have their reasons for doing things. And if you want your questions asked, just invite him yourself. Ben, you have a very huge platform. You can invite Nick Fuentes and you can challenge him on all those horrible viewpoints that he has been putting out there. You can do that. You have the resources, you have the knowledge, you are very talented, you can pull that off. You can do it. If you do not talk with people, you can hardly ever know their rationale for doing certain things. If you just feel like just sitting in your studio and casting people out is going to give you an understanding as to why they are doing what they are doing, then you are fooling yourself. Or maybe if you think that just saying that people should not be platformed because they have views that you think they are outrageous and totally destructive, is not going to cut it out. when you try your best to cancel someone, it makes people interested in that person. They want to know what that person is doing that is causing so much chaos, that is causing so much confusion, that is even making you trying to cancel them. People are not listening to Nick Fuentes because they think he has all the correct views. No. People listen to him because he is a very diverse person and he has opinions about a variety of subject matter and he is willing to debate people. I watch him and I sometimes I come out thinking that he is a very interesting individual. And certain times I listen to him and I'm like, wow, he's so smart. He is totally right. And most people are like that. We are very, very complicated machines or entities. We have viewpoints that are moderate, that are extreme. We have all those points. Sometimes some people don't feel the need to share their extreme viewpoints. They think to themselves, like, I want to be in this group and I want to be a member of this group. So it would be wiser for me to just be moderate in my opinions. That's how some people see things. So I am glad that Ben went on this program with Megyn Kelly and he was able to share his thoughts and opinions as to why he believes that Carlson platforming Nick Fuentes wasn't a great idea. I mean, that is his own opinion. So what I will hope to see happen is we have a debate between Tucker Carlson and Ben Shapiro, and let the two of them just hash it out like grown-ups. I think that will make a very interesting conversation. I honestly believe so. One more thing. I really hate it when people in the West, people whom I personally think are popular, are influential, decided to see things just across political lines, decided to think that the left is worse than the right or the right is worse than the left, rather than thinking that we are all people, we are all humans, and we are all just trying to get a life. If there's one thing that has been very destructive in the Western world, especially America, is this whole left versus right of a thing, or conservatives versus liberals of a thing, or people for pro-life people versus pro-choice people. There is always this against that. And one more thing I would like to leave you with is, are people divided within themselves never stand? Are people divided within themselves never stand? I can tell you this as someone from Africa who has witnessed the efficiency of divide and rule policy. How our political elites, our politicians have sowed a seed of division among us, and that seed has grown into a massive tree, speaking figuratively, of course. Divide and rule is very, very effective, and people must be able to spot that out and be against it. It is not about the left versus the right in America. It's not about pro-choice versus pro-life. It is about the common people and the billionaires. It is about people who controls everything and you who has nothing to eat. That is where the division is supposed to be. But your billionaires will never want you to see it that way. APAC will never want you to see it that way. And the ADL will never want you to see it that way. The special interest group, or the likes of Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Larry Page, Larry Harris, and Larry Allison, Barry Weiss, the Ackerman, they will never want you to see it that way. And so they will sow a seed of division among you guys.